Hey everyone, this is Susie Roos from Self Care Essentials and Evicting Cancer, and your host for Wholehearted Aging Tips. Today, I want to touch on something you might be doing with the intention of taking care of yourself. In fact, there are several mainstream medical health trends that have been disproved yet, for multiple reasons, still prevail. One big one is still vilifying all fats as a major threat to cardiovascular health. We'll take a look at that at another time. But today, I want to talk about a different perpetuated health myth, which also creates a dangerous health habit. I'm talking about using artificial sweeteners in a well-intended attempt to control blood sugar levels. There have been many studies over the last decade or two which show that saccharin, think sweet and low or sugar twin, or aspartame, also known as NutraSweet or Equal, and sucralose, best known as Splenda, all of these act as neurotoxins, meaning they damage nerve and brain cells. Well, that was enough for me to avoid using them and to invite others to do the same. But now, Israeli researchers have shown that these artificial sweeteners not only do that, but they actually cause weight gain and promote insulin resistance, which is a key invitation to diabetes. Crazy, right? Because what are all the diabetic friendly sweets made with? Sometimes we jump in doing something before we fully understand. These researchers documented their work in the scientific journal Nature, which is a very well-respected journal. These researchers started with mice studies, but then they confirmed with humans who were given the artificial sweeteners and then monitored in various ways. And in those human studies, the majority of participants experienced that weight gain, especially like the hip to waist ratio. Anyone challenged by that area? And in addition, they had an increase in blood sugar, the beginning of insulin resistance, and something called dysbiosis, which means the gut is getting more and more populated with, quote, the bad bacteria and less so with the good bacteria that helps our body in so many ways. And something interesting is that their further studies seem to indicate that it's this gut dysbiosis that is key in the development of the insulin resistance and thus the high blood sugar. It's really quite fascinating. In the last couple of decades and more in the last few years, we really have gained an appreciation that what goes on in that gut and the bacteria and other microorganisms that populate it has impacts in every other domain of our life, every other body system. And so here we're seeing it with regards to these artificial sweeteners. So let me give you a few takeaways, because I always want to give you something useful to do or know, avoid, initiate, whatever. So the first one is, no kidding, right? Avoid artificial sweeteners in the known places, like, check your labels on foods and certainly soft drinks. But know that they're also often found in many brands of toothpaste and mouthwash and other kinds of liquids that we use in our body. Second, now this is sort of a given, you could roll your eyes a little bit, is to maintain a balanced and healthy diet filled with lots of veggies, moderate fruits and proteins, healthy fats, and a definitely lower intake of grains and other high sugar refined foods. You're going to hear that one all the time, right? Third, explore some of the natural sweetener options. Honey, dates, maple syrup in moderation can be healthy alternatives if you do not need to be on a lower carb diet because you're dealing with cancer, diabetes, certainly, and having, weight loss needs, or you're, for whatever reasons, on a ketogenic diet. In those cases, try using some of the low to zero carb natural alternatives. There are natural alternatives versus the artificial ones. And the natural ones include stevia, monk fruit, and erythritol. Now, some of you might be familiar with xylitol. I used to use xylitol a lot. It's been used for a longer period of time. But unlike erythritol, they're both alcohol sugars. That's why they're similar names. But xylitol appears to adversely affect your gut. It can cause dysbiosis, whereas the erythritol doesn't appear to do that. So monk fruit, stevia, erythritol. Do not use agave. I think maybe I'll have to do a little 5-minute discourse on agave sometime, because so many people, and myself originally, thought it was a really healthy alternative. It comes from a cactus, it's natural, but we now know it is extremely taxing on your liver. But more about that at another time. I just wanted to put that out there because people ask me that. Fourthly, make sure that you eat some pre and probiotic foods. For probiotics, think of fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, kvass, kombucha, kefir. Be careful about yogurts, though, because most of the commercially available ones are highly processed. The probiotics have been all or mostly killed from the high heat pasteurization. And on top of that, they typically have high amounts of sugar. So everything we don't want and nothing that we want. If you're making your own yogurt, that's a little different. And there are some healthy Greek yogurt options as well. Prebiotics are the foods that feed those probiotics you want, the healthy guys you want living in your gut. So high fiber veggies and high fiber carbs, flaxseed, chicory root. Oh, and fruits that have a lot of pectin in them, like apples and pears. And unless you eat a little fermented food every day, most of us don't, and some of my mentors would say you should have a little bit, a tablespoon or so of fermented food with every meal. If you're not doing that, and I don't do that, then I suggest taking a probiotic daily. And the one that I take does double duty because it's a combination of a prebiotic and a probiotic. Like everything else out there with supplements and so on, make sure you're dealing with a high quality one, or you're going to be getting an inadequate supply of probiotics, not enough variety, or you may be getting zero because they're not alive in the bottle, or they don't get past the gastric juices in the stomach. So like with all of these things, research for a good one. If you want to know what I take, I'm glad to share that. Just message me. And of course, the general guideline you'll always hear from me is eat real foods that resemble food, that are little changed from how they came out of the ground. Do your best to avoid anything with these artificial sugars and other highly refined foods that are abundant in sugar and calories, yet sorely lacking in real nutrition. And then there's the GMOs and all the pesticides and herbicides that also do a number on the gut population. Remember, your body is designed to heal, regenerate, and age with resilience, but you have to treat it and feed it right. So I hope there's a takeaway here for you. Let me know, please comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye for now.